My name is Ethan Cole, a final-year medical student barely hanging on to survival. My mother's hospital bills were piling up, my rent was overdue, and the university had already warned me that without payment, I'd be dropped from the program. I worked night shifts at a diner, took tutoring gigs, and still, it was never enough. Every night, I wondered how long I could keep pretending that I had things under control. Before we dive deeper into this unbelievable twist, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, A Bite of Tasty Stories. Your support helps me bring more shocking tales like this to life. One rainy evening, as I sat outside the campus library calculating how much I still owed, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up beside me. A man in a suit stepped out, asked for my name, and handed me an envelope. Inside was an offer so absurd I thought it was a prank. Marry Madame Veronica Hale, a 90-year-old billionaire, for 1 year, and receive $5 million. I laughed at first. Who wouldn't? But when I met the man again the next day and he showed me legal documents, my laughter died. The reason, he said, was simple: Madame Hale doesn't want to die alone. She just wants companionship. $5 million for a year of pretending? It sounded like a dream, one wrapped in guilt, confusion, and disbelief. But when I remembered my mother's frail voice on the phone that night, asking if I'd paid the hospital yet, I knew my answer. I said yes. I never thought my name would be printed on a wedding certificate beside a billionaire's, let alone one who had lived 9 decades. The ceremony was small, private, and eerily quiet. Only her lawyer, 2 witnesses, and a photographer, who was strangely instructed not to use flash, were present. The Hale estate was beyond anything I'd ever seen. Marble floors that gleamed like mirrors, chandeliers that looked like frozen rain, and walls covered in portraits of a younger Veronica Hale. Yet, something about those paintings unsettled me. The woman in them looked almost identical to the one standing beside me at the altar. Veronica smiled at me as we exchanged vows. Her voice carried a warmth that didn't match her years, steady, clear, almost young. Her skin, too, was smooth, not the paper-thin texture I expected. And when she slipped the ring onto my finger, her grip was firm, powerful even. During dinner, she spoke with sharp wit and perfect memory, recounting details of world events as though she had just lived through them. Everyone at the table nodded and laughed at her jokes, but I noticed her avoiding the cameras, turning her head each time the photographer lifted his lens. Later that night, I stood in our lavish bedroom, still stunned by the absurdity of it all. She entered quietly, her perfume soft and familiar, too familiar, almost like something I'd smelled before. She stopped by the window, her silhouette framed by the silver glow of the moon. Then she turned to me, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Don't believe everything you see about me," she whispered. And in that moment I realized, this wasn't just a marriage. It was the beginning of a secret far bigger than I could imagine. The first few days after the wedding felt like a dream, if dreams came wrapped in gold and silence. Madame Veronica treated me with an odd mix of affection and distance. She asked about my studies, my mother, even my favorite songs. But beneath her kindness, I sensed something rehearsed. Then the night started getting strange. At exactly 2 a.m., I'd wake to find her side of the bed empty. The first time I brushed it off, maybe she couldn't sleep. But when it happened again and again, curiosity began to eat at me. The sound of soft footsteps would fade down the hallway toward the west wing, a part of the mansion I'd been told was off limits. One night, unable to hold back, I followed. The halls were dimly lit, the air heavy with the scent of old wood and perfume. As I neared the west wing, I heard voices, 2 of them. One was Veronica's. The other sounded just like her, but younger, sharper, more alive. I froze. The conversation was muffled, but I caught fragments. "He can't know yet. Not until it's complete." My heart pounded. When I tried to peek through the cracked door, all I saw was a shadow moving quickly, then silence. The next morning, I questioned the maid, Clara, about that part of the house. Her face went pale. "Sir, no one goes there. It's been closed for years." Later that afternoon, while wandering through the library, I found an old photo album. There she was, Veronica Hale at 40, smiling beside her late husband. My hand trembled as I stared at the image. She looked exactly the same. Not just similar, the same eyes, the same flawless skin, the same smile I'd seen at our wedding. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the mansion felt like it hid a secret. And as the clock struck 2, the bedroom door creaked open again. This time I didn't pretend to sleep. That night I couldn't take it anymore. The curiosity had turned into fear, and fear into obsession. I had to know what was behind those doors in the west wing. When the clock struck 2 and Veronica, if that was even her real name, Slipped out again. I waited until her footsteps faded before following. The corridor was cold, lined with portraits whose painted eyes seemed to follow me. At the end stood a heavy oak door sealed with a coated lock. To my surprise, the keypad accepted the year engraved on her wedding ring, 1934. The door clicked open. The room beyond didn't look like part of a home, it looked like a laboratory. Stainless steel counters. Computers humming. Rows of vials filled with red and blue liquids. And everywhere, photos, charts, and medical files stamped with the same heading, Project Veronica. I flipped through the papers with trembling hands. DNA sequences. Notes about cellular regeneration. The words identity transfer appeared again and again. Then I saw the file that made my stomach drop. Subject, Veronica Hale, date of death, 2015. I staggered back, my mind spinning. 2015? That was 10 years ago. So who had I married? Then I found the truth in a sealed folder at the bottom of the stack. Dr. Lila Morgan, lead geneticist, age 35. Photo attached. And when I saw her face, I froze. It was her. The same woman sleeping beside me every night. Piece by piece it made sense. The 90-year-old billionaire was gone. Her daughter, Lila, had assumed her mother's identity through extensive surgery and genetic alteration, an impossible scientific illusion. By living as Veronica Hale, she controlled her mother's empire without challenge. The marriage was meant to make her disguise bulletproof, until I came too close to the truth. I stumbled out of the lab, my chest tight, my head spinning. Every smile, every story, every touch, it was all a lie. But when I turned the corner, I found her standing there, calm as ever, watching me. I told you, she said softly, don't believe everything you see about me. I stood frozen, my breath shallow as she stepped closer, her expression unreadable in the flickering hallway light. The woman I thought was 90 years old, fragile, lonely, dying, now stood before me as someone else entirely. Ethan, she said softly, I didn't mean for you to find out this way. I could barely speak. You're not Veronica Hale, are you? She exhaled, her shoulders trembling. No. My name is Dr. Lila Morgan, Veronica's daughter. The truth came spilling out like a confession she had rehearsed 1,000 times. When her mother died 10 years ago, the empire was already collapsing. Greedy relatives and corrupt board members circled like vultures, ready to seize everything. So Lila, a scientist obsessed with genetics and perfection, rebuilt her mother's image, literally. Through surgery and biotechnology, she became Veronica Hale, keeping the company alive under her mother's name. She paused, eyes glistening. I needed someone to make the story believable. Someone pure, ordinary, someone who could make me seem human again. That's why I chose you, Ethan. You were supposed to be part of the illusion. I stared at her, my heart twisting between anger and pity. So this marriage was just another experiment? Her voice cracked. At first, yes. But then, I didn't plan to fall for you. Silence filled the hall. I could hear the rain outside, the ticking of the clock, and my heartbeat pounding in my ears. She continued, the board suspects something. If they discover the truth, I lose everything, and you could lose more than you realize. They'll destroy us both. I felt trapped between two impossible choices. Expose her and become the man who uncovered one of the world's biggest frauds, or protect her secret and live a lie with the woman who had deceived me, but somehow, against all logic, loved me. As I wrestled with my decision, the sound of slow clapping echoed through the corridor. We both turned. Daniel Cross, the attorney who had arranged our marriage, stepped out of the shadows, a smile playing on his lips. Well done, Dr. Morgan, he said coldly. You've kept your little secret long enough. But you see, I already knew. Lila's face went pale. What do you mean? Daniel adjusted his tie. Let's just say, you weren't the only one rewriting the truth. Your company isn't the only thing I plan to inherit. Before I could react, he held up a document, one bearing both our signatures. The marriage contract. And for the first time, I realized the real game wasn't between me and her. It was us against him. If you enjoyed this shocking twist, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to A Bite of Tasty Stories. More mind-blowing stories and endings await you.